When you ask someone, how are you, in our culture, probably the most typical answer is, I'm fine, and you? But not every culture answers that way. In many Spanish-speaking countries, when people ask, ¿Qué pasa? How are you? The answer is, en la lucha, in the struggle. And the answer that you give is, yo también, me too. How are you? I'm in the struggle. Me too. That's a little more honest answer, isn't it? Life is hard for everyone, no exceptions. Sometimes it feels like it's only hard for us, like we're the only ones in la lucha, but we're not. Everyone is in la lucha. Even your ex, even your boss, even the person who it looks like, oh, I wish, must be nice to be them. Nope, they're in the struggle too. And the first reading today explains why we all so universally are in struggle. If we don't interpret that first reading well, we are going to leave here thinking that the reason we all struggle is because Adam and Eve got a snack attack one day. And there was an apple there that they ate, a healthy choice, not Doritos, but an apple. And now we're all in trouble because of it. But that doesn't really make sense, and it makes God sound really petty. And so we've got to understand that this story requires interpretation. It's a foundational Bible passage, so it's really important, but it can't just be read literally. We need to understand the story that comes right before it. The story immediately before it is, God created everything. God created the sky, and it was good. And then God created the sea, and it was good. And the land, and it was good. And the plants, and they were good. And the animals, and they were good. And it was good, and it was good, and it was good until God created human beings. And then it was very good. But God knew that in that creation, while everything in it was good, there was one tree in the garden that contained fruit that the human creation was not able to digest. Just didn't have what it took to digest that fruit. It was not the right nourishment for them. Just like babies can't handle solid food, just like people with gluten intolerance avoid bread, we couldn't digest that food. But the serpent came in and said, oh, come on. You can digest it. Have a bite. You know what that tree is, the devil said? It's the knowledge of good and evil. Humans can handle that. You can handle thinking you know right from wrong and what's good and what's bad. Absolutely. Have a bite. And we did. And starting at that moment, we started labeling everything that happens and everything that exists. That's good, that's bad. This experience was good. Oh no, that shouldn't have happened. And we started getting all mixed up, and we started suffering. If you're like me, you do not have a clue about what's best in your life. When something happens in your life, you're not sure if this development is going to wind up being good or bad. And if you look backwards, you can see that that's true. Think of the people that you most wanted to date in high school. Looking back at who was number 1 or 2 on your list for who you would have liked to have dated in high school, would that have been a good idea? Do you wish you wound up with them in the end? How about that promotion that you were so mad you didn't get a few years ago? I wanted that promotion. And if I had had that promotion by now, I would be way high up in the company. I'd probably have a corner office at the headquarters in Beijing, China, right now. Is that really where you'd want to be right now? Here's the problem. This flaw, us thinking we know what's best, it's the root of it all. We think that we can label things good and bad in our lives, but we can't We can't see that we can't, and so we suffer. If you think about the worst decisions you've ever made, when you were making them, you thought they were the best. No one who is divorced on the day of their wedding felt any differently than the people who aren't divorced. They didn't get married saying, well, this is going to be bad, but let's see how long we can make this work before it inevitably falls apart. No one ever thinks that on their wedding day. No one who winds up hating their job was thinking that on the day that they bought a round of drinks for everybody who went out with them to celebrate getting that job. The problem for humans is that bad things masquerade all the time as good things. And the opposite is true as well. We don't know what's good and bad. We lack the knowledge of good and evil, but we ate the fruit, so we think we can. So now watch this. In the gospel, the serpent is back to test Jesus with the same business. He presents to Jesus 3 very good things. What's wrong with showing God's power? You're hungry, you've got the power, turn these stones into bread. That's good. People's faith will grow. It's great. There's nothing wrong with that, is there? What's wrong with proving that the Bible's true? It says in the Bible that God's angels will lift you up if you fall. So jump, go up to the steeple, go up to the bell tower and throw yourself down. Then the angels will come and everyone will know Scripture's true. That's good, right? You know, sometimes you just got to betray your values just one time for the greater good. So just betray your values this one time and get down on your knees and worship me. And I promise you, I'll turn all of my power over and it'll be for the greatest good. He didn't buy any of it, but if you're honest with yourself, and if I'm honest with myself, we would have. We probably would have said yes to the first one. Can you imagine how hungry he was? This is the reason why we need to make a decision to turn our lives over to God. We need to let God be in charge because only God knows what is for our highest good. Only God knows what outcome in our life would be best. Only God knows what would most satisfy the needs that we have. And this is true in relationships. It's true in jobs. It's true in real estate. You name it. Be careful about praying that you want to close on that house if it's not working out, because it may be that God knows you don't belong in that house. It looks like your dream house, but God knows better. So whenever we demand that things be our way, if you've ever been mad at God by an outcome, God, why did you let that happen? How can you even exist? It means that you're suffering from the indigestion of that fruit. It means that without knowing it, you're actually competing with God. You're saying, I know better, so move over. And obviously that's not going to work. And God just wants us to stop competing, not because God is threatened. God is not wondering if what happens the day that they win. We can never win. It's not fair, and God knows it. And God doesn't want to compete. God just wants us to stop hurting ourselves and struggling. So this week, we are being invited to take these ancient stories and recognize in our own lives, where has some of my best thinking gotten me? What are the decisions that I made that I realize I thought that was the exact right thing to do, and I was all mixed up? What are the ways that we can recognize that we've thought we could label things bad and good, but we really couldn't? We are addicted to thinking that we know what's best for us. We can't stop thinking that. It's our deepest flaw. It's our original sin. But we could make a decision on this first Sunday of Lent to lay down our arms and start trusting God more. Are you and I ready to do that?